With over 100,000 Chinatowns in the Western world alone, how did small cultural gatherings of Chinese immigrants become a household name everywhere? 中国城, or 唐人节, naturally formed as immigrants came to America to seek riches. And just like the hot potato Bitcoin is today, the California gold rush of the late 1800s lured many Chinese immigrants to seek riches to send back to their families. But as we all know, Bitcoin crashed. Instead of striking riches, many struck nails into building railroads, making the American dream seem more like a backbreaking nightmare. But at least immigrants had a sense of brotherhood in Chinatowns, right? Not exactly. Because most immigrants from China were from the Guangdong province, the Cantonese dialect dominated the primary language used in early Chinatown. Anyone who spoke Mandarin was, ironically, considered foreigners. So what changed? Martin Luther King did. It's weird to think that the civil rights movement helped out the Chinese community, but MLK's battle for equal rights made their food, skin color, and lifestyle to be treated as more equal. But that isn't to say that racism completely subsided. Soon after the Chinese immigration quota was lifted, precisely 3 years after, Chinese restaurant syndrome took popularity. And although this correlation is not necessarily causation, it does make you go, But to understand why anyone would endure such a hard life in the US, you have to understand the mentality of immigrant parents. Confucius thought runs deep in China, and with it the importance placed on cultivating a child's growth, whereby swimming through open seas to come to the US, working backbreaking 14-hour days at your restaurant till you're 80 years old, all in hopes to give your child a better life, is all in a day's work, or a lifetime's. Those wealthy enough today, however, play by different rules, yet their mindset is fundamentally the same. Instant visas are issued to anyone willing to fork over $500,000 to invest in the US, a small amount because parents see this as access to better education, more opportunities, and the ability for their kids to bring know-how back to China. In fact, education was so luring that even President Xi sent his daughter to Harvard. But the lure of this beautiful country is starting to lose its luster. For over 3 decades, China has had double-digit economic growth year after year, and where our parents' generation thought China would always be the underdog, the increasing confidence of China's youth in their nation is giving way to the number 2 mentality, the ambition to beat number 1. But public perception like this is carefully controlled under the watchful eyes of the Chinese government, where, although cultivating thirst to become number 1 is critical to winning in the long run, too much push could lead to negative public opinion spiraling out of control, as well as limit negotiation power with the US. But what does this mean in terms of immigrants in the US? Simply put, the once starry-eyed enthusiasm for America has turned into sober admiration. Just look at the growth rate for sending kids to the US for education and you will see what I mean. Slowed from 30% in 2010 to a staggering 3.6% in 2018. As for the melting pot effect, Chinese immigrants are more resistant to becoming Americanized as they are proud to keep their lifestyle true to their motherland. Immigrants today live much different lives than those of the late 1800s. Today, they are spread out to every corner of the US and are versed in every professional field. Think doctors and engineers versus building railroads and running restaurants. But with any group of people, new challenges will always arise as old hurdles are overcome. Although I am proud to be Chinese, it is sad to see a new rift dividing Chinese Americans and Chinese internationals. Where unity for China means discord in America, I believe we have become too race-obsessed. We should be helping one another instead of competing against each other, but it will take a conscious effort to do so.